Dr. Remy Kahane, members of the organizing team of the conference, I would like up front to thank the members of the organizing committee for the invitation to attend and address this important conference that takes place, I understand, every 4 years. I feel really sad that I cannot join you physically as initially planned, but happy that I can share with you some thoughts within the theme of agroecology and sustainability of production systems. Within this theme, I'm going to speak on adding value to island biodiversity from laboratory to job creation. Ladies and gentlemen, as a human race, we share a symbiotic relationship with plants and nature. Professor Das Gupta highlighted this in his seminal work, The Economics of Biodiversity, where in the report is estimated that the net value of nature's ecosystemic services to us humans is around $100 trillion that nature gives us every year for free. She provides us with food, shelter, medicine, cosmetics, dyes, natural defense, and cultural expression. There are also novel and emergent uses, like the development of nutraceuticals for biofortification, for energy generation, such as bagasse, jatropha, corn for ethanol, among so many others, some of the other uses. There's also plant-based medicine with rising cultural acceptance and whose value is increased with certification. If we take a look at the field of medicinal plants, their use is steeped in antiquity, but still has modern-day relevance. Some of the earliest record dating back to 2730 and 3000 BC, the court of Emperor Shanyong of China reported on the useful use of cholmugra, oil, Hypnocarpus species, against leprosy. The World Health Organization had reported that 80% of the world population still depends on medicinal plants for primary health care. But with nowadays trend, I believe it is much more. It is a fact that 60% of drugs sold on chemist shelves are of natural origin, and that includes antibiotics, but with 25% which are directly derived from medicinal plants, and that the sale of herbal medicine globally amounted to something like $60 billion, I think, in 2020. Between 1981 and 2014, 686 of the 1,328 new therapeutic agents approved by pharmaceutical drugs were based on compounds from natural resources. This underscores the importance of medicinal plants as a source of novel and innovative compounds. So medicinal plants still represent nature's medicine chest, and they form the single largest grouping, 30,000 species, of which 33% are trees. In tropical and subtropical Africa, they are home to 40 to 45,000 higher plant species with high potential industrial value, and they constitute at least 25% of the global pool of plant genetic resources and have contributed significantly to world's trade in genetic material. Traditional knowledge and medicinal plants still continue to provide mankind with new lead molecules and standardized extract. So one could well answer, with the development of modern medicine, why is traditional knowledge so important? Over the past decades, we had adopted a reductionist approach whereby medicinal plants have been used to isolate the active ingredients, the famous silver bullet. This approach has its limitation in as much as some active molecules work best when in synergy with other molecules present in the plant extract. This has been observed with the standardized extracts of ginkgo, from of course the plant Ginkgo biloba, which has proven to be highly effective in stimulating brain functions. Another example is passiflora extract used in chronic fatigue syndrome, nervousness, and anxiety. Clinical studies and other data point to its efficiency as an anxiolytic, but with no clear indication as to which molecule was directly responsible. The extract is as effective as oxazepam, which has been used as an adjunct therapy for opiate withdrawal symptoms. Among the biological markers are chrysin and other flavonoids. These observations led to study of more African plants, and one of them is Mesembryanthemum tortuosum, commonly referred to as Skeletium, used traditionally by the Khoisan people in southern Africa, and the people have been using it as a sedative. Its activity has been ascribed to the presence of mesembrine alkaloids. And the question that medicine and of course science was asking, could this plant be the African alternative to Prozac or St. John's wort, of course, Hypericum species or even Valerian species? Ladies and gentlemen, with these successes, the pharmaceutical industry and the world of science and research laboratories, they have started to take a fresh look at stories behind traditional medicine. The identification of structures with novel biodynamic effects can also lead to a new chemical entity path for drug development. Reverse pharmacology, defined as the science of integrating documented clinical experimental hits into leads by transdisciplinary exploratory studies and further developing these into drug candidates by experimental and clinical research. Scope is to understand the mechanism of action at multiple levels of biological organization and to optimize safety, efficacy, and the acceptability of the leads in natural products based on relevant science. The practice of reverse pharmacology has helped unleash the potential of curcuma, now used against diabetes, arthritis, and hepatitis, helped us to reassess the potential of centella as an anti-aging agent for the cosmetic industry, or the trigonella, commonly referred to as methi, against conditions like diabetes. Yet, in spite of these potentials, 1/3 of terrestrial biodiversity, counting for 1% of Earth's surface, is found in vulnerable hotspots, where the threats to environmental common remains pervasive. The challenge, therefore, is to combine conservation strategies with sustainable use and the management of our biodiversity resources. If we take a look at the flora of small island developing states, the SIDS, and local tradition, we find that they are critical. If you take a look at the African continent, one is aware that the calculated loss of 1%, that is where the global rate is 0.6%, is due to forest deforestation. The direct implication is that many medicinal plants will become extinct even before they are documented. Fortunately for all of us, the recent trends are showing that the rate is now slowing, but unfortunately we are getting now the impacts of a changing climate. Even though sub-Saharan Africa is reported to have over 5,000 species of medicinal plant currently being used, the continent has only contributed 83 of the world's 1,100 leading commercial medicinal plants, and which are of African origin. Among these plants that perhaps may come to mind straight away are Catharanthus roseus, which we call Madagascan periwinkle, the Harpagophytum procrumbens, also known as devil's claw, Revolvia vomitoria, which of course we also refer to commonly as Revolvia. There are other lesser known but equally important African plants. Here we have the Adansonia digitata, commonly known as the baobab, highly sought after now not just by the cosmetic industry but also by the food industry. Cyclopia ganistoides, the honeybush, which could be an alternative to the rooibos. Aphramoma melegueta, known as the grains of paradise. So the question we ask, with so much potential and diversity, why is Africa absent from the international scene? Also, is the absence of African medicinal plants on the market only due to detailed study? I think the answer lies elsewhere. The potential for the business and the ag sectors is enormous, but Africa will lag behind unless African countries prepare internationally recognized medicinal plant standards so as to ensure their visibility on the international market. And this observation made in a conference held in South Africa in 2000 led us, a team of scientists, to publish the first edition of the African Herbal Pharmacopoeia, with a view also to harnessing knowledge for sustainable development. This publication helped me pave the way toward the setting up of my own enterprise, le Centre de Phytothérapie et Recherche, CEPHIR initially, and whose objectives were to have access to the unique and lesser known biodiversity, as I said earlier on, with over 5,000 medicinal plants on the African continent, sub-Saharan Africa, train graduates, multidisciplinary team of soil chemists, botanists, pharmacologists, recognize also the expertise in research, and with the support of fully accredited laboratories, and also one large database of bioactive extracts. And also the strategic partnership in 3 continents, which the initial company had before I added another pillar to the holding, and the partnership that we had developed with the other arms of the holding company, le Centre International pour le Développement Pharmaceutique, which had expertise in clinical trials in the field of cosmetics, food, and the pharmaceutical products sector. The reason for this initiative was based on previous missed potential, the famous concept of stagnant technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, missed potential happened for several reasons, including the lack of capital, investment opportunities, and regulatory inefficiency. If we take a look around, what do we see? We find that access to venture capital, which had led in the West to the development of companies like Genentech, Amgen, Genzyme, amongst other things. And we find that the IFC had identified health innovation as an investment opportunity. So if investment had been made available, would we have seen more progress, for example, in the development of Nibima from traditional herbal medicine, Cryptolepis sanguinolenta from Mampong, Ghana? Would we have seen the development of malaria dipstick from the University of Ghana? Yet we have witnessed the failing of several initiatives at the ECP in Nairobi, and the failings have been because of weak institutional framework, regulatory inefficiency. Yet ECP had several patents that have not given any scalable business model and profit, and the profit have been insignificant. Even the roaring success with Niprisan, the anti-sickling remedy, Nigeria did not have the capacity to sustain institution-specific funds to make large investment. Although Africa Enterprise Challenge Fund is making venture capital, yet more clout is needed through partnership with international agencies to make development happen. There is a need for an African venture capital fund to be structured so as to mitigate risk and attract for-profit private sector funds. We've seen, for example, a country like Ghana, where schistosomiasis, chronic diseases impairing growth and development in children, and we also have seen the second devastating disease, malaria in Africa, after malaria in Africa. The team at Noguchi had developed a prototype test for the disease, developed but did not go further, as not enough technology transfer capacity, no support for product development, field trials or market assessment. We saw also in Tanzania, where Artemisia annua was grown locally. Farmers had to export to Kenya, where extraction takes place, then shipped to Switzerland, where Novartis processes it into coartem. At the National Institute for Medical Research, they have developed a technique to enhance production locally, but this innovation not applied, and hence no commercial value had been captured locally. We saw also in Rwanda, fertilizers formulated at the Institute of Research into Science and Technology was not processed further due to lack of awareness of the innovation process and support structure to protect innovation. Hence, potential for this discovery remains untapped. We saw the seed varieties developed by Rwanda's Institute of Agricultural and Scientific Research being marketed in Malawi, but no royalties flowing back to the institute. Hence, no local value has been captured. So are there elements for the new agenda? We need to capitalize on momentum gain in the global environmental and conservation movements, recognize that all actions are local, emphasize maintenance and sustainable use of the natural capital, and also recognize the important role of local communities, mobilize cutting-edge knowledge, recognize the value of indigenous knowledge and cultural traditions, and forge partnership anchored in the common good for the benefit of all. We need to become the voice of change, because Africa must become a producer of knowledge, not just a consumer. And Africans must be activists, not pacifists, in generating ideas, spurring research, mobilizing knowledge for socially relevant developmental purposes. We should all collaborate to generate Africa-centric, indigenous development solutions that draw upon the best knowledge available from an increasingly connected world. In all these areas, women can and must become the drivers of change. As development takes time, we cannot afford to fail yet another generation. I thank you for your attention.